Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Joe Saleem from Berea College. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to tell people about our fine school and our program.
Yeah, it's a place that I actually have experience with. So we just realized I guess I just don't look that old, but 20 years ago when I was coaching, I actually coached against Joe when he was a player. So wow, I feel old. But that's just the way things go. Um, and so the interesting thing is when I was coaching against you, Berea was not Division III, which they are now.
Right.
And actually I drove through Berea on I-75 a couple months ago and brought me back. But before we talk more about the school, let's talk about the recruiting side a little bit, because I have a feeling you're a little bit of a unique situation, and we'll talk about the school and how it is very unique in the college landscape. But when are you starting to look at players? When are you hearing from players? Kind of what year in high school are they?
Yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA Division III move was a good one for us based on our model to some degree, but also it kind of made the recruiting a little bit different for us because we're communicating things a little bit differently and in different areas. But I'm hearing from kids, I mean, literally as early as their eighth grade year. I'm getting emails now. Those generally are not the ones who I'm following up on a lot, unless it's a kid who I have met through camps or have really, already made kind of a real connection with or know them from this area. Generally, I start looking around the sophomore year of high school for potential people who are going to fit with our program and our system of play and, are interested in this area. And then really start pressing hard, junior year into the senior year to get them through that admissions process and get them here at Berea and make sure that we're still the fit that they think we are.
Okay. Well, you mentioned camps. How important are camps for you? Whether are they camps that you host, or you and your staff at other people's camps? How do those kind of fit in?
Yeah, I think we do a little bit of both. So, I worked with a couple of different companies. I just got back from the Future 500 camp that happened in Virginia. I've done a bunch of exact camps in the last year. Center College nearby, another D3 school, they have a big camp every year. And I try to get over there as much as possible. So those are important. We also have an ID camp here on our campus. So we try to bring people in for that camp. And those students, student athletes or potential student athletes, are the ones I think that are already drawn into Berea. They understand kind of our program and our mission, or at least curious. And so our ID camp is very important for me to get to know them and how they fit in our system. They can see our team and our field and our facilities and our campus. But I think camps in general are a good way to get exposure. And for most coaches, some of these kids are out here playing 20 games in a weekend. Realistically, it looks pretty bad by that 20th game. So I think for most of us, it's the early part of that those tournaments and those camps where we get to see what the kid has on the field, and then throughout the weekends when we get to know their personality, what their goals are, and those kind of things as we get to know them. Sometimes get to coach them depending on the camp. And so, yeah, I think those are important for me as well. And some of those kids are so far away, they're not going to come to my ID camp because they live in Oregon or New Jersey or whatever, and they came to a regional showcase. So,
Speaking of showcases, are there tournaments and showcases that are kind of on your must-see list every year? Where do you like to spend your time?
Given our geography, I think anytime I can get to the Blue Chip Showcase that happens up in Cincinnati, that's very important to me. Getting up to Grant Park in Indiana, also clearly very important to me. It's a huge showcase. It's very well organized, and also I think those two showcases work well together to make sure they're not on the same weekend. And then there's a couple down in Gatlinburg at the Rocky Top Sports Complex. They have they probably have 10 different showcases each year, but there's two main ones that we try to go down to, the Southeastern Showcase especially. And I think those are the ones that are in my head. I'm like, I got to get to these at least. And then there's other ones that, I try to get to as much as possible. And that kind of depends on what kids I've been talking to and where they're going to be.
Okay. Well, whether you're at a showcase or on a camp side of things, what is kind of your hierarchy of things you're looking for in a player that's going to make you want to continue that conversation and see if they're a fit for you at Berea?
I think number one for me is always going to be attitude. And that's attitude while they're on the field. How are they talking to their teammates? How are they responding to the referees? How are they responding to the parents that are yelling at them, et cetera? And also, how do they respond to that adversity? When they lose the ball, do they put their head down or do they fight to get it back? I think that all is part of the attitude that comes with them. But then also, for me, what does their attitude look like with me? I'm a big personality. And I think most of my players will tell you that. I think if they don't mesh well with me, it's going to be a whole lot of butting heads, and I don't want to do that to a kid for 4 years, and I don't want to have to go through that for 4 years. And so I think making sure that our attitudes and our morals and our goals kind of align is very important to me. Those are the first things I think I really look for, is that attitude. And then after that, I think it comes fit is very important. You can be the greatest player in the world, but if you're not going to fit with my system and with my team, that doesn't help us and it doesn't help you. So making sure that our school's a fit for them, making sure they're a fit for us. And then, I think obviously after that, it becomes the levels. You're fighting for 11 starting positions and, 20 more spots on the bench. Are you going to be in that top 32 when I look at your skill level versus who I'm looking to bring in or who I'm already talking to or who I already have? And that's the hard part of the job, I think, is, sometimes the kid's just not good enough or they're just not a fit or you just don't have the spot really available at the time. Although I will tell you, I think I share this with most coaches. If you're talented enough, we will find the spot. So, at a certain level, I'm not going to say, oh, I can't take any more forwards. I'm tapped out. If you're scoring goals and you're going to fit into my system, I'll figure it out. So yeah, that's kind of the hierarchy of what I'm looking.
In terms of, you say 32, I mean, is that kind of your target roster size each year?
That's like my max. I don't like, we're a different institution. I think we'll talk about that in a little while, but so I'm not tuition driven as far as making sure that I have, like, my administration's not telling me you got to bring in this many kids to support your program or what have you. And as such, I think I'm in a very unique and advantageous position where I can say, I don't want to bring in a 40 person roster and have 10 or 15 of them that I know aren't going to play. I want to bring in 25 to 35, somewhere in that range. Generally closer to 30 would be ideal, but I want all of those players to be able to see the field for me throughout the season, and to know that when there's an injury, that doesn't mean our whole team falls apart. It means that the next person's up. And that's how it goes. And it's not based on how much money you're bringing to the table or any of that kind of stuff. And so I think that helps me keep my roster kind of minimized. And that allows me also to travel with basically my whole roster a lot of the times. I don't have to cut it down to the bare bones. My roster is usually around 29, 30. And I usually travel with at least 24. So, we're not sending a whole lot of people packing when we go on the road. So.
No, that's great. Well, and I guess we can kind of pivot to the money side of things, as you mentioned, and especially being D3, there's no athletic money. But go ahead and talk to me about the uniqueness that is Berea in terms of tuition and what the financial situation is there for student athletes as they come in.
Yeah, I think, we're a very unique place. Berea College was founded by a man named Reverend John G. Fee, and he wanted to make sure that people had access to education. And so immediately he opened up the doors of this school to freed slaves, women and men, the poor kids of Appalachia, and we've kept that mission ever since. And so every student who comes here, a lot of D3 schools are going to say, how much can you pay for college? We're going to say, can you not pay for college? Because that's what we really, if you can't pay for college, we're perfect for you. And so we're looking for kids who, have great academics, but they have limited finances. That's the mission that it's always been, and will continue to be for all the foreseeable future that I see for our school. And as a result, we have a very unique package to where if you qualify to come to Berea, you automatically don't pay tuition. No student at Berea pays tuition. And it's been that way for 150 some odd years. And so, I was blessed enough to come here as a student, and my stepfather had just gotten disability and laid off because of an injury. And that made us perfect for Berea. And we found out that we didn't have to pay tuition. And I had scholarships elsewhere to play soccer, but the money was still going to have to come out of somewhere to cover what was left. And Berea is very unique in that aspect. So we're looking for kids who are Pell Grant eligible. I think that's majority of our student body. So when you fill out that FAFSA, if it says that you're eligible for the Pell Grant, then you would qualify for Berea more often than not. And then we take that thing at the bottom of the FAFSA, that EFC that everybody worries about, where the government says this is how much you can pay for college. And that's basically what you come to Berea paying. So I've had players who have paid nothing to come to Berea for at least their first year or two. And then I've had players who pay $3,000 or $4,000 for a year, which is nothing when you think about college. And I saw a statistic the other day where over 70% of our students were graduating with little to no debt, which was awesome. And so when you leave college, you're not going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans from Berea. My wife and I combined were under 20,000 in student loans, and I went here 5 years. So I took a victory lap. But but I mean, it's a great financial structure. I think that the D3 thing throws a lot of people off because a lot of those schools that are at our level are looking for kids who can afford to pay to go to school. We're kind of on the opposite end. I'm looking at the kids who are looking for that scholarship money. And that allows us to I think, make some dreams come true. When there's a kid who absolutely needs scholarship money to go and play at a D1 or a D2, and they're not going to get offered that, they don't need that here. If you get in, you got a full ride. And that's the way we like it. And it puts us in a good position, I think, to help some students out.
Yeah, no, it is an amazing thing. Now, I forget, is there some sort of work aspect or something that kind of goes along with that?
Yeah, there is. It's the work side of things is also part of the basis of our mission. When our founder started this college, he had people work to pay basically their tuition off. And so that wasn't really a thing really back then. But now there's a work college consortium here in the United States. I think there's like 9 schools that have work programs. So yeah, you work 10 hours a week on campus as a student. Our work program is a little different than others. So sometimes they'll just put you in the support staff role where they feel like they need student support. A lot of our kids are working in areas where they're going to go and work in life. So I've got a student on my team currently. She wants to be an athletic trainer. Her labor position is in the athletic training room. So she has a team that has been assigned to her, and she's able to wrap ankles, come up with rehab plans for people who have torn an ACL or twisted an ankle or whatever. And she even works a little bit with our strength and conditioning team, talking to them about what exercises they can be doing to help make sure they don't fall too far behind while they're sitting out of their sport. And so she's getting that experience. So when she graduates, she gets to put that on her resume and take it out and hopefully get hired right away. And so, yeah, you work 10 hours a week. You do get paid. It's not like it's just, some type of labor where we just take the money because we didn't make you pay tuition. You still get paid for that work. And generally speaking, I think it really adds to your educational experience. I worked in several areas when I was here. And when I left, the first major job I had was actually coming back to take over 2 of the departments that I worked in. They combined the position. And so that's what brought me back to Berea, was running some residence halls and our campus activities and recreation. And that was all because I worked in those areas as a student. So I think it's very helpful and just really an added element of the education process. And, I don't have to worry about our kids when they leave not knowing the value of work or not taking for granted the janitors who they run into or the food service employees, because right now those are their fellow students. And so my team makes it a point to thank everyone who served us when we're on the road, to thank the people who are cleaning up our hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff, because they understand, because some of them are doing that as a job when they get here their freshman year. So
no, it really is an amazing setup, and I've always admired it. So I guess I'll give one last catch-all about the school. I mean, because you've given us some really good nuggets, but is there anything else about the school that I'm not going to find on the website that you want to make sure people know about the school?
I think realistically, overall, the easiest thing to say is that we're here to serve, and we want to make sure that our student athletes and students in general get the most out of their time here at Berea. And so we have several offices. You can find these on the website. We have an internship office that makes sure that when you're looking into your professional development, you get the internships you need. They pay for clothing. They do all that kind of stuff. We want to make it as cheap as possible for our students. On the medical side, if you're going into, taking a praxis or making sure you have to take some stuff for nursing, we pay for all that. We pay for study abroad programs for most of our people. I had a goalkeeper 2 years ago who went to Germany for a semester and had to come out of pocket for absolutely nothing, which is an amazing thing to have happen. And I think that's what you'll get at Berea. And you also get a laptop. So we pay your tuition and we give you a laptop when you get here. And I'm sure several other things, but it's a beautiful campus. And we're currently renovating a lot of things. You can see our field behind me, which is a beautiful blue Muta blend. But we're also building an indoor practice facility right next to that.
Oh, wow.
That has broken ground, and they've flattened it out and brought over the utility stuff. And now they're hopefully going to start laying the foundation during this season, and it'll be available for us to start using next season. So,
oh, that's great. Well, can you walk me through what a typical week? I mean, no such thing as typical, but an average week during the season in terms of what time is practice, when are classes, game days, cadence, that kind of thing. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think at our school, you throw in the labor that adds a little bit of an extra layer to the scheduling. But a typical week, I mean, you're going to work those 10 hours. Generally, they work about 2 hours a day with that. You throw in your classes. Generally, during our season, you're taking 3 to 5 classes. It kind of depends on your major and what you've got that you need to take. But those classes usually happen between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The labor usually happens around that same time, somewhere mixed in. And then we practice usually around 4 or 4:30. Some years we have to go a little later because of schedules, to the 6 to 8. We have lights on our field and all that stuff, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, so we practice in the evenings. And in a general week, you're looking, once we get out of preseason and we're in our season, I mean, we're in it. And we're doing probably 2 to 3 on-field practices and 2 to 3 games each week. And there's some that are a little heavier on the practice side, and there's some that are a little heavier on the game side. But I also make sure that our athletes, by NCAA standards, they have to get 1 night off a week, like 1 complete day where there's nothing related to our program. I usually try to give them a second one that's not necessarily a day off, but it's a day off of the workouts and all that kind of stuff. We're doing team bonding, we're doing community service or a clinic for local middle schools or whatever, just to make it somewhat different and not just wearing you down. Because as that season goes on, as you know, Matt, you get so deep into the season, stuff starts breaking down on people's bodies and mentally as well. And so I think that's a nice addition that we've tried to make to our program to alleviate some of that.
I think that's great. Well, in terms of the soccer side of things, how big is your staff, whether that's the soccer team or the support staff in the department? What role does everybody play?
Yeah, I think, obviously our team, like I said, we're somewhere between 25 and 35. My starting lineup is never completely set, just because it can't be. If you're a coach who's looking for the best players to get you in the best position, I think you have to change things from time to time. Usually about 24 of those are our travel roster. So those are the ones who are going on the trips full time, unless there's an injury. As far as my staff, I've got an assistant coach who just joined us, and we're working on having a second assistant. Usually we run with 2 assistant coaches. I have a goalkeeping background and was a defender. And so I usually like to work with those people as much as possible. And then our other coach, she kind of fills in when I'm not able to do some of that stuff, because I'm focused on the more of the team or working with the front line. And then in our department, we have a lot of support. So we've got, I'm the assistant sports information director, but we have another person who does all our athletics, communication and events. We have a strength and conditioning team that has 2 coaches full-time. We also have 2 athletic training staff that are full-time. And then pretty much all of those groups have student staff as well that helps fill in. a lot of that stuff. And so, and I think our campus is pretty supportive. So we use a lot of our campus resources as well. We have a photo studio, green screens, we have videographers, and all that kind of stuff that we pull into different things that we do to support our efforts. And technology, our technology department has been very instrumental in moving us forward. So we have trackers that, you know, can track what's going on. We even have a GoPro that can track you as an individual if we need to do that for a game. We've got the technology to do that. And so we've really stepped it up. In my 5 years being here as the head coach, from point A to point B has changed tremendously as far as how we travel, how we eat, how we where we stay, how we dress. We get at least one new kit every year. You know, our kids get to keep their backpacks, and you know, we do fundraising for some of that, and our alumni office helps us bring alumni back for alumni games and all that kind of stuff. So I think campus wide we have a lot of support that helps really make it a tremendous program.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, how would you describe, you know, your style of coaching and the team style of play when it's on the field?
Well, I'm loud, and that's, I mean, that is who I am. I'm a little bit of a big personality, and, you know, I also, I'm a bit of a gentle giant. So I have a soft spot, I think, for my team. I took over this team the same year my daughter was born. And so I told them that, you know, in June I got a daughter, and then God gave me 30 more in August. And so I try to make sure that we do have kind of a family feel, and that we're a fun team. When I'm not coaching, you know, I'm doing comedy, and I travel around the country telling jokes. And so we tell jokes on our team, and we have a lot of fun doing that kind of stuff and making silly videos for their TikToks and Instagrams and all that other stuff that's new to old people like us. But yeah, I think we have a lot of fun. Our playing style has really evolved greatly, I think, since I took over. When I got here, it was a lot of boot ball and just try to get it down the field. We're a lot more possession based, and we have a good system of where we want to swing it, how we want to hold possession, how we want to look for shots. We shoot a lot. And, you know, over the last few years, we've gotten to the point where we started scoring a lot, which is very helpful. Defensively, we play generally 4 in the back. And I think from year to year, that system of play kind of changes based on personnel. And, you know, there was a couple years there where I had four young ladies in the back who could run an offsides trap better than anybody who I've ever seen. And, you know, at one point we were getting 15, 20, 25 offside calls on the other team just because they knew the exact moment to step and they were all connected. Our team now has a lot of speed in the back, and so we don't necessarily look for that offsides trap all the time. We look a little more to contain and cover, and people are able to cover their own channels, and so we don't have to help over as much, which allows us a lot of freedom on the offensive side and on counterattacking and all that. But a lot of possession based, finding the right shot, finding the right opportunity, not rushing things and playing what is given to us. The good thing is about soccer, if you wait long enough, the game will give you your opportunities. You don't have to force them over and over again. And I think the sooner we get our players to understand that here, the more successful those teams usually are. And I know the difference, and I think COVID put a little wrench in our development, but I think we're right on track to be highly competitive over the next several years. So,
no, I think that's great, and you got a pretty decent conference. Is this a new conference you guys are in, or did it rebrand, or what happened there on the conference side of things?
Yeah, it's a new conference. So when we went to Division III, we joined the USA South, which to my knowledge was the biggest conference at our level. 19 teams on the women's side. And then we added a 20th right before we announced the fact that we were going to go ahead and divide. And so those of us who are on the west side of the division have now broken out into a new conference. It's the Collegiate Conference of the South. 9 teams currently, and those teams are from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and us. And it's a lot of fun travel. I think it makes for a little bit of longer road trips from time to time, but that also allows me and my team to really have a lot more fun and bond and do activities we might not do when we were just going to play Oakland City. You know, we're driving 3.5 hours playing and then coming back. Now when we're going to LaGrange, Georgia, we're leaving on a Friday, hanging out together, playing on Saturday, and heading back. And it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so we split into that new conference. This fall will be the first year of its inception and competition. and we're excited. I think as a whole, we just met as a coaches group down in Atlanta, all the women's soccer coaches, and had a blast. And I think there's an excitement and a camaraderie that's there. It's easier to get 9 people to bond than it is 19 and not as many moving parts. And so I think we're all very excited about what the CCS is going to be, and how it's being set up. We worked on bylaws, and it's really great because we went to the drawing board and said, it's new. We can kind of do what we want. And everybody had a lot of input. And so I think it'll be a great experience for the student athletes. That's one of the main things, is that the student athlete experience has been paramount to everything else. Every time we talk about a change, well, how's that going to affect student athletes? What's that going to look like for our kids? And I think that it's really been a great process to hear those complaints or those shortcomings or the things that are really good, and really build that up, so that our student athletes, when they come to our conference, no matter which school, we know they're going to get a good experience.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and I really appreciate your time. And so I got one last question: is what didn't we talk about? What else is there you want somebody to know about Berea, about the team, about the recruiting process, about anything in general? The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, if you're a recruit out there and you're watching this, let me just tell you, this is where you want to be. That's the one thing I'm going to tell you, and it's for multiple reasons. A, affordability. You're not going to have to pay tuition here at Berea. 2 is that you're going to be taken care of. I make sure all of my students are plugged into our alumni network after they leave here. I make sure that they are plugged into the resources they need while they're here, and that they have a good time. We have fun. We develop as individuals. I don't expect any of you to be whoever just left. I want you to be the best you. And so if you want to develop yourself as a person, as a player, and get a school that's going to help you develop professionally, I think this is the perfect place to be. And we're making a lot of great strides, even more now, as far as getting things built. We're getting a new scores tower at our field in the next 2 seasons. We've got that new indoor facility that'll open up next season. We've upgraded some contracts and everything else. We're getting great gear. We're getting great travel. We're getting a lot of wins, hopefully, as well. And so I think this is the place you get in now and have a great experience. I would put our program up against just about any other program as far as the experience that athletes would get with me and our staff and our campus.
No, that's awesome, Coach. Well, hey, I really appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck there in the fall, and good luck with the new conference setup. And we'll keep an eye on you, and let me know if you ever get down Florida way for recruiting. We'll grab a cup of coffee or something. All right.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.